Hey everybody, welcome back to another Slimefun Tips and Tricks episode with your host Boomer. And today we are continuing our 5-part series into Slimefun power generation, where we're looking at comparing the power output, buffers, where they work, day or night, and if they're subjected to the light expansion nerves. Now, the first 2 episodes, most of those generators were relatively easy enough to craft. I mean, it took a little bit of effort, but it can be done in a short period of time. From here on in, the grind picks up. All right, this is big boy time. Now, these are mid-range generators. These aren't endgame at all. The ones we're going to look at today, there's only 4, but they fall in the range of approximately 100 to 500 joules per second. It's going to take some work, so let's dive right in. The very first one we're going to look at here is the Light Expansion Advanced Solar Panel. It generates 160 joules per second during the day, 20 at night. Now, it's got an amazing buffer of 320,000 joules. This is a grind to obtain, but keep in mind it's also part of the process of getting to the deep end game in light expansion. And with that kind of a buffer, as long as you're generating more power than you're using, as you start adding machines along the process, you're going to be able to continuously run for a while. So let's get this going here, and let's take a look at this one. So as we drop down our regulator, we can see again, during the day we're generating 160. If we were to turn this to night, let's say 14,000. You can see the generation slows down to 20 joules per tick. You notice though the buffer stays in there, right? We don't lose it when you break the regulator, which is really nice. So 320,000 joule buffer. Now it does work in another. Let's look at the recipe for this one. That was funny. Here's where a lot of people get hung up. Is that it takes an energized solar generator, which creates more power during the day and the night, to generate something that makes less. And here's what people do is they make the mistake and they walk away from it. So, well, why should I make something that creates less power than something I've already made? It's because you're looking long term to what some of the bigger machines do. When you're talking about generating 8,000 joules per second with a 1,000,000 joule buffer. It's part of the process. All right. So as you can see, it has a few other pieces to it. Not that big of a deal. It's not an endgame breaking machine. It's going to take you years to craft. You can make this still, in my opinion, relatively easy once you've got this. All right. Let's move on to number 2. Let's make it 1900. Good round number. All right. So now let's look at the Equal Power Looter Generator. This one is a little bit more powerful. Runs 256 joules per second. Only at night, and has no buffer compared to the Light Expansion's insane buffer of 320,000. But it's generating double the power during the day and 13 times the power at night. Now, it does not work in the nether. And as you can see, during the day, it won't run. So if we go back to the nighttime, boom. There's 128 joules per tick, or 256 per second. Now, as far as the crafting recipe, again, an energized solar generator. Now, again, it's the same kind of argument, right? Why should I craft this to make the lunar one? Well, because the lunar one gives you 256 at night. This one, the energized solar, is only 128 at night. So it gives you the option to run. You could build 2 of the other ones, or you could build one for this and run it at night, depending on what you want to do, whatever works for you. All right, let's get back to daytime. Let's move on to our third one. We'll go back into Core Slimefun now. Now we're looking at the Energized Solar Generator. For those of you who have built that, and again, it's part of the other 2 machines, we know it's 256 joules per day and 128 at night per second, excuse me. No buffer, does not work in the nether. And as you know, the recipe for this one is for the carbonados. So again, it's a bit of a grind, but this is where most of your jumping off points are going to start from. Whether it's EcoPower, whether it's light expansion or infinity expansion, you're going to at some point want to automate the production of this. Not just make, but automate. If you're looking and add all of the big power deep end gain pieces in infinity expansion and in light expansion, you're going to have to get this thing automatically being produced in order to keep up. All right, and we got one more. And this is the Infinity Expansion Advanced Solar Panel. This one, now we're really starting to get some power going. 300 joules per second, a good buffer of 15,000. Works only in the day, does not work in the nether. Now, this is one that I forgot to stick in here. This is one that is affected by the light expansion nerf. And so actually, you know what? Let's just cheat this out. This is when it does get affected. Here we go. What ends up happening on this one with the light expansion nerf is the power is cut down to 150 joules per second. And that's where we're at right now. I have light expansion installed. The nerfs are on, so you guys can see this. But it's still a good point because this is going to be the jumping point into the deep end. When you look at the recipe for making one of these, an energized solar generator. So no matter which way you want to go, you're going to have to get energized solar generators going. There just isn't a way around it. If you want to make the deep end game of light expansion or infinity expansion, solar generators are just going to become a part of life. You might say, well, I'll just run nuclear. Well, nuclear only generates 500. You got some deep end machines in infinity expansion that run 200,000 or more. So for me, I'm going to be working on getting to the deep end. And you can see it even nerfs the buffer too with the light expansion nerf. Not only did it nerf production, it nerfed the buffer as well. So these are our mid-game machines, mid-game crafting. This is the one, though, that you really, really are going to need to focus on, is getting this thing going. This is what's going to get you into the deep endgame type of power. So next episode, we're going to focus on the machines that run between approximately 500 and I believe it's 2,000 joules per second, and start gearing up for the big ones at the very end. So guys, I hope you appreciated and liked the episode. If you're new to the channel or you just watch on a regular basis and haven't yet, please consider subscribing. Make sure to turn those notifications on so you know when another episode comes out. But as always, when we play Slimefun, you gotta go boomer or you gotta go home. We'll see you later.